And we are rolling. How's it going, Matty?
Oh, Dario, thank you for making the trip all the way down to Acushnet, Massachusetts. That's a town you probably never thought you'd ever venture to.
I mean, gotta say, I never heard of it, and I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. I was reading it like Acushnet, like I mean, I was sometimes misplacing the S or the H rather, so I was like a ChooseNet in my head sometimes. So that's how do you say it again?
Acushnet.
Acushnet. Now I know. All right, we're live from Acushnet, Massachusetts.
Holy cow! I never thought I'd say that on a Player Profiler show, but we're from Acushnet, live in person. Dario from LA making it all the way here. It's the best, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for the premise of this show, just getting out and meeting all the people from the fantasy industry.
Yep.
And I think that, especially having gone to the expo this year and getting that sort of in-person camaraderie and just feeling that kind of in real life for the fantasy football space is super cool. So I'm really happy to be here. I mean, we've met, I guess, once before, right?
At the draft house.
The draft house, but still just super sick to be here with you and, talking ball, getting ready. I mean, it's week 1 is fully here. Football starts it's Tuesday when we're recording this. It'll probably go up on YouTube in the next day or two and Spotify day or two after that. So football will be here by the time the people are watching this show. That is just super, super cool to think about. I can't believe the off season's finally over. So without any further ado, let's get this show on the road. And I want to kind of use this platform so people get to know the people that they listen to talk about football. I want them to get to know the person behind that a little bit better over the course of this show. So I kind of want to just start out with, what's your favorite football related memory? Any game you were at, or any particular thing you were watching, like just anything.
I would say it's funny because I'm sure they'll have a variety of answers, right? Stuff when you were a kid, stuff that happened maybe as an adult. Well, my memory that it was probably the only time it's going to happen to was I went to the Patriots Titans playoff game in 2000 and let's call it 18, maybe. I'm not sure. But I remember when you were there at the playoffs, because I've been to a handful of games, right? But Dario, when I tell you, like, you're going to go to the game on Sunday, you're going to go to that game, and you're going to be like, wow, this is a great atmosphere. But the playoff atmosphere, that was my first playoff thing I ever been to. Football, baseball, anything related.
Yeah.
And it was wild. I mean, we got there early, and the food that you could get, people tailgating, the drinks were flowing, the vibes are high. I'll never, ever forget that moment, even though I can't remember the date. So I guess I'm being a little counterintuitive. But the day itself was a blast. Being able to root on the Patriots. Brady Patriots, this is still prime time bully beatdown in round 1 of the playoffs. So it was like over by the second quarter. We're just going wild, banging. And then my buddy's like, do you remember what you were yelling yesterday at the game the entire time? I was like, yeah, I wasn't that drunk. I remember. And they were like, what? I was like, oh, I was yelling bully beatdown. And it was very embarrassing because the way I was doing was, oh, bully beatdown, trying to get a chant going. No one joined in. So I'll always remember the vibes, but I also remember acting an absolute fool at the playoff game.
Damn, that's great. And then I guess tell us a little more about how you got into the fantasy content creation game, because I feel like you've been at Player Profiler helping us out pretty much as long as I've been here, but what's your trajectory been like to get to here?
Oh, it's been a long road, believe it or not. So in 2018, so right around the time I went to that playoff game, matter of fact, I started doing Boston sports related content for some small websites, buddies that I used to work with and whatnot. He started a website, and I was like, man, I've always been a fan of podcasts. I've been listening to like some of the podcasts I've been listening to for 10 plus years. So I've always wanted to do it. Love talking, as everyone knows at Player Profile, that I could talk and talk and talk. So I've always wanted to do it. Found an started doing Boston sports related content. My very first bit of content was a draft article for the Red Sox the year they took Tristan Cassis. That was my very first article. And then we got into the podcast game, and then we started doing a Red Sox specific show. And at the time, I've been playing fantasy forever. I've been playing fantasy since I was in 8th grade. Started with fantasy baseball, fantasy football. So like I loved fantasy sports. And I started saying to myself, man, I would really like to take this content game, pivot to fantasy sports. So I ended up joining this website called Couch Guy Sports. Shout out to Couch Guy Sports. They gave me a chance to do fantasy football, fantasy baseball. And what I wanted to prove to myself at the time was that I wasn't just going to buy a bunch of equipment, do it one time, and call it quits. So I told myself my rules were, if you could prove proof of concept that you could be consistent, then you could put a little bit of money in. And then if there's momentum, it seems like you're good at it, people like it, put a little bit more in. So I was at first using my headset from my Fortnite days, using my headset to record, didn't know anything about, StreamYard, YouTube, all the stuff that people use. I wasn't really all that hip to it. So I was just kind of like getting it done, putting it on wherever I could get it on. And then what was that app? What was the app that came out that is now Spotify podcasts? It was called something, I forget what it was called, but it made it super easy to record and post. So I was like, okay, now we're cooking with gas. And I started the show called High Heat Fantasy Baseball. And that went for a full year. Did that every week, once a week, Wednesday nights with this guy, Kevin. Him and I would do it every single week. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I can put it into my lifestyle. At the time, I didn't have I didn't have 3 kids. I had 1 at the time. We just had 1. And now we have 3. So it was like, okay, you kind of learn you could do it. You can learn that, people are checking it out. So I was like, okay. And then I started doing a fantasy football show at the same website called Kiwoom and Jones. And we'll talk about the whole Kiwoom thing. I know before the show you want to hear about that. So we'll talk about that train wreck of a decision that was for me. But anyway, and so I started the show. Shout out Chris Jones, my first co-host for fantasy football. We did again the whole year. And that we were able to make some connections. Like we had Josh Larkey on when he was at PlayerProfiler.
Oh, sick.
We had our guys over from South Harmon on. A couple other destination guys, Ike and Gene from Off the Line. We had Kev Maseratian came on, Frank Amarante. Like, I was just asking whoever would come on. And also, side note, I did reach out to Cody Carpentier, and he left me on red. He's my boy now. We're boys now. But back then, he didn't even give me time of day to come on Kiwoom with Jones. So, Cody, if you're looking at this,
that's rough.
Me. Well, I guess he's paid it back in full. He's done a lot for me. So shout out to Cody. But yeah, then all of a sudden, Chris Jones was like, "Hey, should we try to take this to a new website?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can do that. Couch Guy was great, but let's see what's out there for us." And I had reached out to Matt Kelly. And he was kind of like, "Yeah, we'll see. Send me something. Time Josh would check it out and put notes in. We'll see how it goes." Didn't really hear anything. And then we asked Josh, because Josh had moved to the 33rd team.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Hey, do you want to check the show out? We're looking for potentially moving to a new platform." And he was like, "Oh, but you have to ask Matt," because they had the agreement that like he wasn't going to poach anybody. I had been writing articles at PlayerProfiler. I had done the fantasy football Shark Tank, a couple of trade articles, not a whole lot, but not a lot of consistency. But I had worked on that thing. That's how Josh kind of knew who I was. And he was like, "All right, you got to ask him." So I asked Matt for permission. And Matt, it was funny because I sent this whole thing about how, I'll do it. Matt sends me back an email that says, I was like, "Oh, I'm looking for the green light, blah, 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 blah." Josh, he sends me back 2 words, green light. So I was like, "Oh, okay. All right. So I can definitely do that. It's no problem." Then he comes back. He's like, "Hey, wait a sec. I didn't know you were looking to do something on someone else's platform. Why don't you come do something with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, PlayerProfiler is like the pinnacle for me."
Yeah.
I've been a fan of Matt for a long, long time, listening to, Mind to Mansion before it was Mind to Mansion, listening to all the shows, in their pretty much their first iterations, because it's only been over the last handful of years that we've all kind of developed shows, right?
It's the amount of steam that the PlayerProfiler content
insane.
train has picked up has been absolutely wild.
Yeah, I mean, the shows are so high quality. The hosts now that are coming to the network, it's unbelievable. So at this time, and when I was talking with Matt, the Billy hadn't taken over the ops yet. Theo wasn't there to manage the content, so it was still pretty much the ground floor of what we're noticing now. The hype train, the rocket ship that is PlayerProfiler. So I was like, okay, yeah, definitely. And we had a couple of development meetings with me and Cody and Matt about the idea, and that's where the game plan came from.
Right, of course. That's
where we started. So the game plan. Thank you. It was an in-season show that was just me talking about, and we still are. That's not over. We're going to get back to this, but it was more of like prep for Sunday. Yeah. Get our listeners, get the viewers wins, get them dubs in their fantasy matchups. So that was kind of the in season, and then when we pivoted outside, the off season, I had you on talk about analytics. I've had Theo on to talk about rookies and high stakes, like having guys on. Billy was talking about projections. I had Matt on talk about taking over an orphan. So it became these real niche ideas for the offseason
sure.
of how to get better at fantasy. But that's where I basically got going. The trade gods came from that, doing the future cast now with Cody. I mean, with Theo is great. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into it. It took a while to get there, but now I'm here, and I'm still. Sometimes I'm shocked. Like, I'm shocked that you're here right now, that we're doing this,
Dude, this is
live in
awesome.
the backyard.
I'm happy to be here. And then we're gonna keep going. I'll get you more here with Matty Kiwoom, but first we're gonna hear a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, so many ask me, what's wrong with sportsbooks? Why so many of them fail? The answer is simple. They don't innovate. They're just casino sportsbooks on a phone. That's all they've been. There are a few that are doing a good job. We partner with them. Most of them, not so much. Until Bet Openly came along. Bet Openly said, hey, we're going to innovate. We're going to do something groundbreaking. We're going to have peer-to-peer betting in all states, and you pay 1%. When you win, you pay just 1% on your winnings. You heard that right. It's 1%. With code Underworld, you qualify for just that 1% transaction fee on Bet Openly. It gives you ultimate flexibility to set your own lines and browse lines that others have set. Think about it. That's what betting should be. And now that is the reality. BetOpenly.com. The code is Underworld. Check it out.
Hey.
All right, we are back here. Matty Kiwoom, Acushnet, Massachusetts.
Yeah, you said it right. That's good job, Dario.
Thank
good
you,
job,
thank
man.
you.
Good job.
So I guess while we're kind of on the subject, I was wondering, let the people know what shows they can expect to find you on, any articles, like just what, where you're going to be on the Player Profiler network this season.
The game plan is going to come at you each and every Saturday at noon, stream live. Get in the chat, get your questions answered, get yourself ready to win your fantasy matchups. The Trade Gods is going to go to every other week. Jason and I will take over Wednesdays. We're actually sharing it now with the Dynasty Roundtable, and we're going to alternate taking over Wednesdays. So if you have your trade questions, you might have to save it for a week, but you get it to us, and we'll definitely break it down. And the Future Cast with Theo Greminger, the man, the OG. We're going to be going probably once a month to start as the college season gets going. But then as it ramps up, we'll pick up the pace. And then when we're in, off-season draft season, we'll be bringing a whole bunch of episodes. So those are the three shows. And then my articles, I'll be doing the Fantasy Supermarket again this year. 1 week will be regular season, seasonal league approach. And then every other week, I'll throw in a little extra Dynasty talk to get all our Dynasty players, up to speed, up to chase with everything. And then the cornerback ranks, right?
Yep.
I've taken the mantle from Mr. Cody Carpentier, and I will be doing my best to analyze cornerbacks. The model's been put together. Dario has been great, helped me get them online, so you can check those out. Every week they'll be updated.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of our best in-season features on the site is getting that data of like this receiver is going to be matched up with this cornerback,
Right.
and we have someone who is studying those matchups closely and paying attention to what corners are. It's not just about like, reputation, but like these are the stats that these guys are putting up this season, being aware of what cornerbacks are actually going to be the toughest matchups for fantasy and stuff like that in season. So very excited to, I feel like I can't take any of the credit here and call it a collaboration, but I'm happy to help you out here with just like getting those up on the site. And then it's going to be, I think that's one of the probably great tools that is maybe even underutilized by the users. So people, if you're like, out there, you're a Player Profiler subscriber and you're not regularly checking the cornerback rankings, you're missing out, because that is definitely one of the big important features for us there. And then you hinted at this, but I've been wondering for a while, because I gotta say there was a while early on where I think we would be on email threads, and it took me a while to put two and two together that Matthew DeRozers was also Matty Kiwoom. I was like, oh, these are the same person. Like, so what's the story behind your nickname Kiwoom, I guess? Like, how did we get here?
So it's a pretty short story, but the overall theme is that it takes a special kind of goofball to take a last name that's hard to pronounce and then want a stage name that is also equally as hard to pronounce. But the origin of it was as I was doing shows for the Boston Sports website, we were doing a baseball show. And when the COVID season happened, there was no baseball. So we would talk about Red Sox. We would talk about whatever we could to get the baseball talk going. But what did end up coming out, what league came back on the field before everyone, was the Korean baseball organization, the KBO.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was watching, I was diving in, I had my VPN set up so I could watch KBO games at 5:00 in the morning as I was getting ready for school, for work. And At the time, I was like, well, I need to pick a team. I need to pick a favorite team. I went on ESPN. They put out this good article of players to watch in the KBO because they were anticipating, the baseball people would gravitate towards wherever
Yeah,
came back.
I remember that era. That was a crazy.
It was a crazy era, right?
To think back, and the only sport you could watch was Korean
baseball at 5 a.m. And they do their schedules are very regimented. So it was like the team you'd follow would play like 3 games at this time, and then 1 game at this time, and then 3. So it was like, okay, I know what time I need to get up, and I need to go over there. I can't imagine. I mean, you're in California, you would have to stay up all night.
Yeah.
These were 6 a.m. out here. It's 3 a.m. where you guys are. So
no way.
I can't imagine. But they put out this article of players to watch, and one of the players is actually on the Padres now, Ha-Seong Kim. And he was the guy. He was like, that's going to be the guy. And he played for the Kiwoom Heroes.
Okay.
So I kept bringing this guy up because the reason why ESPN said to watch out for this guy was they believed he would be one of the guys that jumps to the big leagues.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I got to follow this guy. So I kept bringing it up as we would talk Red Sox because at the time they didn't have Kike Hernandez. So I was like, they need to go get Ha-Seong Kim, go get him from the KBO. He's going to be posted, bring him back. And someone on the show was like, wow, you really love this team. Everyone called me Matty D or whatever. So they were like Matty Kiwoom.
Yeah.
And it just stuck. And I kept trying to get, we didn't have any listeners in Korea, but I kept trying to get someone to send me a hat from the Korea. So I was like, Kiwoom. I kept bringing up Kiwoom Heroes. So it ended up becoming Matty Kiwoom, and then it just stuck. And then, I mean, at the time, you have this pen name, you have the stage name, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of like a fun, whatever kind of goofy thing.
Yeah.
Cut to Dario Offstien coming to your house in Acushnet, Massachusetts, and you're still using this thing. So yeah, that's what it is.
No, that's fun. That's a great story because I had no idea, and I wondered. It has a nice ring to it. I got to say, it sticks and it's catchy. But I had definitely always wondered where that came from. So that is very good to know. And I guess let's continue on just talking fantasy football in general. Do you remember when you played in your first fantasy football league?
Oh, yeah. I remember this. So it started with baseball. So, our listeners of me at all, they know that I'm a big baseball guy. Started in 8th grade. Our teacher or teacher's aide, whatever you want to call him, that year, he was playing fantasy baseball. And I kept seeing someone on his computer. I was like, what is this? And he told me what fantasy baseball was. So I started playing a little fantasy baseball. Not competitively, but I joined. And these are the old days. I'm old enough to remember the days where you would join a public league with none of your buddies.
Yeah.
And 62% of the league would be out before.
Well, especially in fantasy baseball. God damn.
Yes. I mean, insane. It's still insane. We have a long running fantasy baseball league as well. That's just wrapped up. It's wild. But I started there. And then when I went out to college, I played fantasy football during high school, but it was the same thing every year. We would draft, we would care, we wouldn't care.
Yeah.
We would draft, we would care, we wouldn't care. So I went out to college and my buddy set up a league where we all cared and tried, and we, super fans of football. So I got really into it. So when I came back from college in 2011, out in California, I was out in California. I don't know if you knew that about me.
I think you might have mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
Like, was it Santa Barbara?
No, I wish. Man, I freaking
wish.
wish.
Okay.
Can you remember? If you can remember this.
Was it Chico State?
No, it's in the middle. But also, I wish Chico State, because Chico State is supposedly like a really fun place.
I remember it was like one of the state schools.
It is.
Yeah.
Stanislaus. Cal State Stanislaus in Turlock, California. Which, fun fact, is where Colin Kaepernick is from.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So I went to a party. He was in high school still.
Oh, shit.
And he was just a freshman in Nevada. Where it was Nevada State, Nevada. I think it was Nevada.
Nevada. Yeah, that sounds right.
So he was tall and everyone knew him as a 2-sport kid. They were like, yo, this kid at Turlock High throws 95 plus and he's a ridiculously good quarterback. Cut to he's became a poster child of so many causes, but on top of that, just so he was a face of the 49ers, one of the most historic franchises. It was like his hometown kind of team. He was a
great NFL player there for a couple of seasons. I mean, I remember him just absolutely shredding the Packers in that NFC championship
and no
game.
one even saw that coming. I mean, he I don't know if he gets credit for this, and I don't know if he deserves it wholeheartely, but I mean, he really ushered in the RPO era again. He was that guy that was like, wow, he gave him read options, and it was like, oh, he kept it and he burnt the Packers with it.
Yep.
So that was fun. That's where I went to school, Cal State Stanislaus. But when I came back, to get back into the actual conversation of fantasy football, I started a league with my buddies that we actually just had our home league this past Sunday. It's always the Sunday before Labor Day, which is always a great fun, a lot of fun. Sharp guys. I'm the only one that does content. So now I've become like, they always like, oh, what do you think? You know everything? Yeah, guys, I know everything. I know everything.
Yep. Same thing in my home league now too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Once you put yourself like, oh, but it's a gift and a curse because they hit you with the, what do you know that I don't know?
Right. No, or it's like, you tweet about your sleepers and then like
my
they're
God.
they're all over them because just to spite you. So
yeah,
for sure. But I did get Roshan Johnson in my home league.
Me too.
Hell yeah.
Me too. I did. I actually got Roshan. It's funny too because that's one thing about Player Profiler that I've always loved. Matt really set the pedestal high, and guys like Cody and Josh and everyone who's been doing it now. Our group that we were talking about that are there now. We're so transparent, and you can tell because everyone I talk to has a similar story. That when I tweet something, when I say something in a show, that's what you are trying to implement in your home league. That's the strategy
for sure
you're looking to do in your high stakes league, whatever. And so the transparency of Player Profile has always been fantastic, but it will bite you in the ass.
Yep. All right. So do you remember the first pick you made in fantasy football? Like who was that guy?
I remember. So I can give you my first pick, and I can give you my first sleeper that became like my favorite player of fantasy history. My first ever pick was Maurice Jones-Drew.
Okay.
I took him at the 105.
Nice.
And then I took in the 4th round, which was a reach at the time, was a young wide receiver in Pittsburgh. I went by the name of Antonio Brown.
Oh, dang.
And so after year 1, we went to 2 keepers. After year 2, we went to 3 keepers. So I had Antonio Brown year 1, year 2, year 3, and then we went to 10 keepers, and I had him all the way through his mental breakdown where he did jumping jacks as he left the sideline in New York.
Wow.
So he brought me championships. Antonio Brown was he was my favorite player at the time. Now he's just an absolute whack job. I don't know. But the funny story about Antonio Brown, a little side note, I don't collect cards, but I like to get some cards of my favorite players.
Mm-hmm.
I bought the Antonio Brown rookie card. It wasn't a lot of money. I think it was like $40, but I bought it. Literally, it arrived at my door on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He quits on the Buccaneers,
damn.
eliminating essentially his legacy, his chance at the Hall of Fame. Like he will always be known as this whack job now, as opposed to one of the greatest wide receivers of all time.
So good for like a 5-year stretch. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, unbelievable. So that was my favorite. That was my first like sleeper, and then became like the best pick I ever made for fantasy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and then so while I'm out here in Massachusetts, like what should I do in your backyard? What's the like? Any must-see spots, anything, if anyone is generally visiting Massachusetts, they should know about.
So you want to stay away from the stereotypes, but you're here in August, you're here in the summertime. Lean into some of those stereotypes because Cape Cod, if you can make it down there.
It's September.
Oh, it is September.
I know, right?
The calendar just flies. Football starts this week, guys. Did you know? But no, you're here still in warm weather. It's still summerish time, if you will. But yeah, if you can venture down to Cape Cod or Newport in Rhode Island, beautiful beaches, and then try the lobster roll while you're down here.
Yeah.
It is good. I like it cold. Some people I like it cold personally. But yeah, check those things out. And then we also have good breweries. But I mean, those are everywhere, so it's not really specific here. But there's a couple of good breweries down here it's worth trying local beers and stuff.
When I was with Matt Friedman last week, we were hanging out after the show. He was telling me of this barbecue joint in Vermont. Shout out to Fatty's, Big Fatty's Barbecue in White River Junction. And he told me to go here because it was the furthest south that you could get beer from Hill Farmstead, which is one of, I guess, like the top breweries in the world. So Friedman tells me about this place. I go there for lunch the following day. And that was probably the most I've ever enjoyed a beer. Like I was been kind of someone who like tolerates it. Yeah. But that was just a good IPA. And I was, eating some ribs. So just beautiful. If you guys ever find yourselves in White River Junction, Vermont, hit up Big Fatty's. Shout out to Friedman for that recommendation. But yeah, it seems like the brewery culture in just, I guess, New England in general is pretty big.
For sure. It's getting big everywhere, but in like the New Hampshires, kind of the rural more Massachusetts outside of Boston, you have enough of that like I don't want to say hipster vibe, but like that. Yeah, but it is, right? It's like, Portland's obviously you got microbreweries everywhere. But Massachusetts is kind of a low key has pockets of that, where it's like people have this like artisan ideas, like New Bedford, Mass, which is kind of like the bigger city, like 100,000 people. That's right next to a Cushing. It's like Podunk. I mean, we're out in the sticks, but New Bedford has a good area, and they're really kind of they're not upkeeping, but they're improving a lot of that stuff out there. And you're getting people coming with like artisan restaurants and like really good places that like, I think they're really good. I think that one day it'll be like one of those guys that, Guy Fieri comes through, checks out some of those spots, because there are, places that are like very, very much Massachusetts where what they serve a lot of seafood, fresh stuff from the ocean, stuff like that. But also like there's a burger joint that's like one of a kind, not a chain, but they do fantastic burgers. Shout out D&B Burgers. But yeah, this area in New Bedford it's kind of on the come up. It's nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, probably more recommendations there than I'll have time for. But I like that. I like this aspect of just like getting it on the record. If anyone ever finds themselves around here, they can hit up these places that you're recommending. So absolutely, like you said, I'm just very, very glad the weather has been this good while I'm here. I guess maybe this is good weather. I'm from California, but maybe to you guys this is like sweltering summer heat.
It's hot. It's pretty hot, and it's unexpected. Like last week, it wasn't like this. We were getting into that vibe. Like, one of my buddies that I work with, it's like every year we have the same conversation right around our league draft. He's in my home league. We have the same conversation. Ooh, the weather. It's fantasy football weather. And it was. And then we showed up at the draft that day and was like, this is July weather. This is humid. It's hot. The sun is out. So, I mean, if you got some free time, you're trying to venture outside, it's nice. I guess when I go in the office, it's nice too because AC's on, but it's humid too. I mean, you can speak to that being here.
Yeah,
the humidity's rough here in Mass. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, I mean, there was quite a few days in August where I was just getting like Ohio, man. When I was in Canada for the Expo, there was thunderstorms like every day. There was
I saw that rain out.
Expo. Yeah. It was completely nuts. So getting a few sunny days in a row, I am absolutely not complaining.
You're gonna have a good week. They're saying a good week all the way through Sunday. It's supposed to be a pretty good weather. So a string of weather. So
yeah, Sunday I'll be at the Pats game.
Yes,
Pats versus Eagles.
Big game. And what's funny, before the show started, you didn't even realize what's happening before the game starts.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Tom Brady. I don't know if you heard of him. They're celebrating him finally. They're giving him his flowers, as the children say out there. And he's gonna get it all, and they're keeping it very close to the vest. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
I guess rumors of a statue. I mean, who knows?
I'll have to get there real early to be on the scene. There'll be a lot of good, fresh boots on the ground stadium content coming at you. And then I guess one more fantasy question for you there. Like, what's your favorite format to play in just all time? Like, I mean, there's so much. I know you're big in the Dynasty streets. Yeah. You talk about your home league being keepers. Like, what's your favorite? I don't know, whether it's a scoring format or a particular type of league. Like, just what's your most fun league that you're in?
Well, so it's kind of changed over time. I used to be very staunchly seasonal 1 QB. That's what I like. It's traditional. That's what I like. But as you start playing Dynasty, I got into Dynasty wholeheartedly because I play fantasy. I don't know if it's the best way, but I play because I like to pretend like I am the football the head of football ops for the Patriots. I like to pretend like I'm a GM, and Dynasty gives you all that. You get to play with draft picks. You get to play with deep rosters. You have stash guys. You have players that you can buy into long before their own franchise buys into them. So Dynasty is now my favorite. I can't get enough Dynasty. And I've come around on Superflex.
Yeah, Superflex is just so much fun because I think it makes all kinds of strategies viable. A super flex draft, you're going to have the people that need to start with 2 quarterbacks. And you're going to have the people that punt quarterback. And I think it just makes all 4 positions. Like, I think super flex tight end premium, you have really a balance where all 4 positions are critically important to the health of your team. And I think that just makes for such an exciting draft.
For sure.
But yeah, I guess what you're a Pats fan. You've admitted it openly, well known. What is your take on the Pats this season?
I don't think they're going to be good, Dario. I think that this is the end of the dynasty. I know, like, the Pats naysayers would say, Matty, your dynasty's been done. It's cooked.
Yep.
This is the year that it's known for it being done. I think this is Belichick's last year coaching the Patriots, and I think there's big shakeups coming, and I think it's going to be a real bad year for the Pats.
That's bleak. You think they'll get in on the Caleb Williams sweepstakes?
I think they might be bad enough where they may have to make that decision.
Yep.
Where they might not be. That might not be the vibe around the execs today, but I think by the end of the year they're going to go, listen, how important is getting this win in December? How important is it to make sure that Mac Jones is the guy? We're looking at a pick where even if it's not Caleb Williams, could it be Drake May? I mean, this past week 1 for the college season, showed how ridiculously good this quarterback class could be. Michael Penix looked great. Even the kid from Duke, Riley Leonard, looked great last night. Sanders is now going to immediately be Shadir Sanders is immediately going to be in the conversation of a guy that could potentially creep up in round 1. Bo Nix is one of those guys. I mean, we could see 4 or 5 quarterbacks in round 1. So I think at some point the Pats are going to have to tell themselves, listen, is Mac our guy? Probably not. Let's see what these quarterback waters look like.
Yeah, maybe if I was reading, one conspiracy is if Brock Purdy flops, maybe you guys can get a pick from the 49ers for Mac Jones and Shanahan can finally, live that dream out.
That was the rumor that he wanted Mac Jones and he was overruled for Trey Lance. Clearly that didn't work out, but they got Purdy is Mac Jones.
That roster is just so loaded that they've been so
they just
good
wanted
regardless.
A quarterback that'll say yes sir and get the ball to Ayuk when he's supposed to, get the ball to Kittle when he's supposed to, hand the ball off to McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell and company when he's supposed to. Mac Jones could do a great job doing that, but I think Purdy will be just fine. But yeah, I mean, if they want to, I'll be happy. Give the Patriots an extra pick.
Yeah.
I'm in.
No, and I mean that division, the AFC East this year is just completely loaded. I mean, the Jets, everyone's hyping on the Jets. Hard Knocks, of course. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, and then I think the Dolphins are a really good team. I mean, when they had Tua healthy last year, that offense was so explosive, and Tua hopefully stays healthy again this season. But they could be a really good team. That defense is on the up and up. I know Jalen Ramsey's hurt, but he'll be back.
Yep.
And then obviously the Bills are the defending champs. What, 2-3 years now they've won the division?
When the Pats relinquished that stranglehold, that's when that would be.
Yeah.
This is two years in a row. This could be the third straight.
Yeah. So that division is definitely if the Pats aren't good, they could get beat up pretty bad.
Real
in those
bad.
In-division games. I think actually too, I saw on on Twitter that the Patriots have the hardest strength of schedule coming up for this season. So
their schedule, that was the hype around the Patriots here locally, the beat writers, all those guys, was kind of optimistic, but it was in comparison to the dumpster fire that they had last year. So everyone was like, oh wow, they can get on the field and get in formation correctly. Oh wow, this actually looks like a formidable offense. Oh right. Wait, it's just Bill O'Brien as an actual offensive coordinator, where last year Matt Patricia and Joe Judge were 2 substitute teachers that never lost a job until the end of the year, and it was pathetic. So day 1 last year, people knew it was going to be bad, and day 1 this year they called it night and day difference. But when you're comparing it to what it was, as opposed to the totality of their organization and who they'll be playing, I think that it's not going to be good. And when you look at that schedule, I mean, coming out of the gate, I think they could start off 0-4 or 0-5.
Yeah,
I really do.
Damn. Well, I hope it's not too bad as a fan for you there.
Since you're a visitor, if you want to become an Eagles fan halfway through, so you could cheer with the psychopaths that are from Philadelphia at that game, might as well.
I'm debating. I'm still trying to think about what to wear to all these games.
Yeah,
I have a Breeze jersey with me, so I've been kind of wondering whether to just make that my thing, wear my Breeze jersey to every game, or mix it up.
That's not bad.
But we'll see what happens there. But I'll be neutral except for the Saints games I'm at.
Yes, and it would be funny too, because if I didn't know that context and I saw a Breeze jersey at that game, I'm always like, who thinks to themselves, I'm going to wear a third team at this game? Why?
Well, it's like that Rob Lowe meme with that NFL hat. Yeah.
I'm just here so everyone has fun.
Exactly. I'm just rooting for the most points total in the game.
But you can say, hey, I'm a fantasy guy, so it's really just about the players within the game anyway.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I was about to say that should be a good game. Maybe it won't be. I don't know. I hope for your sake that they're able to put up a fight with the Eagles. But
I don't know. That game, it might be tough. I would say that the Patriots play them tough, and Patriots fans are optimistic about the loss. Like, let's say it's 17-13, something like that. People will be optimistic about it, but I think it's just really the hype of the day, week 1. Coaches, obviously, that's why we see a lot of good offenses look good, a lot of good defenses look good, because they have had all offseason game planning for week 1.
Yep.
So I think the Patriots have a good game. I don't think they're blown out, but I don't think they win. And then I think it's just a real bad go at it after that.
All right. And then I guess while, we're just talking ball broadly, who's one team that you really like to kind of be a surprise division winner this season? I think that there's a lot of good dark horse contenders. Like, give me one that you're really into.
So in the AFC East, I think the Jets win.
Okay.
I do think the Jets win. I mean, you can call me a Hard Knocks Bobo, but Rodgers showed up the day he was traded. And what I can remember from Brady's days as a Patriot, the years he showed up early were the years you were like, Tom Brady still got that fastball. He still got it. And then Rodgers did that exact thing over in New York. And Hard Knocks, whether it could be a complete pile of BS, but it seems like he's not only there to win, but he's there to bring up the culture. He's there to teach Zach Wilson. He's there to do all the right things. That's going to go leaps and bounds for that team. They obviously have offensive weapons up the wazoo. I mean, they really are loaded on offense. They have 2 good running backs now. They're going to wheel out one of the best young receivers in football, Garrett Wilson. Allen Lazard's always been a favorite target of Aaron Rodgers. They have not 1, not 2, but 3 competent tight ends, in my opinion. They're not all going to be fantasy relevant, but I think football relevant they will be. And then that defense, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they are absolutely stacked on defense. Their top 3 corners really popped in our cornerback ranks model. So the Patriots are going to have a real tough time out of the gate. When the Patriots play them, they'll have a really tough time. The Bills, I think, could struggle in week 1 on Monday Night Football.
Well, and I'm going to that game too, actually.
Oh,
doing a little hop,
skip, and a
yeah,
jump.
Exactly. Got to get to all 30 stadiums this season, so you got to go to multiple games a week sometimes.
You're going 2 in 2 days.
So exactly, yeah.
That's badass.
And then I think the Bills have struggled against the Jets defense the last couple of seasons. I think the last 2 years in the 4 times they played each other, like Josh Allen and that whole just offense from a fantasy perspective has really taken a bit of a hit. So I'm with you there. I think that Jets defense is going to be completely insane this year. And then I mean I find it, I think they're a good division winner pick. It's tricky. I'm a little more skeptical with the Aaron Rodgers stuff still, but I can definitely see it.
Relentless pass rush. I think they're my dark horse to be in the AFC Championship game because of that defense, but it's all health related because a Sauce Gardner injury, Quinn Williams who gets hurt, that could be a big deal. So there's definitely fragility as there is for every team, but I like them to win. My surprise NFL pick, I love the New Orleans Saints this year.
Okay.
I love the Saints this year. Their schedule is so soft. I think Derek Carr is a way bigger improvement than people truly give credit for. He's got a good deep ball, good offensive weapon, good defenses in themselves. They play 13 indoor games, so they're not even going to have many wacky outdoor games where it's just, the Bills and Bears at the end of last year.
Yeah.
It was like the Bills got the win, but they had to walk into a negative degree weather with crazy winds, and it made it for real problematic for Stephon Diggs owners, which was me. That was really tough. But yeah, they're my surprise pick. I think they win the South, and I think if they get that home game, you'll see. You're going to be going to a game in New Orleans. You'll see the vibes there. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Superdome for sure.
Yeah, man. They love that. They love them some Saints.
Oh yeah. All right, and then I guess let's get this show wrapped up. Close us out with your one hottest take for this season. It can be fantasy related. It could just be general football. Like who's your guy?
So I'm going to go one fantasy take, one regular football take. I'll start with the fantasy take. I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson as a top 12 running back on a points per game basis. I think this is the year Eric Bieniemy unlocks the truly, truly special talent that Antonio Gibson is. And over his career, I mean, he's had double-digit touchdowns twice. He's had, really big receiving seasons. And I think this is the year where, Brian Johnson's going to get his. He's going to be a grinder. But he's going to be a true, true weapon in their offense. And Eric Bieniemy's playing for a head coaching gig. So he's going to throw everything he has throughout this season. He's going to try to get the most out of all these players. And now you have a toe injury to Terry McLaurin, where Jahan Dotson can easily take that wide receiver 1 role, but pass catcher number 2, weapon number 2. Yeah, it ain't Brian Robinson, it ain't Logan Thomas. It could. I think it's going to be Antonio Gibson. I think they have a cupcake matchup week 1 against the Cardinals, and he's off to the races right there. And I think you're looking at top 12 talent. My NFL pick, it's a bold one. Patrick Mahomes breaks the single season touchdown record.
That's 55 right now, right?
55 is
yeah.
Peyton, yep.
That's pretty spicy.
That's spicy. I was looking at their schedule, a lot of shootouts and a lot of bad defenses to start the season. And I think when you break it down, when you look at their depth chart, yes, they don't have a receiver that's anywhere close to Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. They probably don't even have a receiver that's Juju Smith-Schuster last year. But I think the totality of their wide receiver room is maybe the best that he's had.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we'll have to see what they get out of Sky Moore.
Of course, this is question marks.
Rashee Rice,
Yep.
I mean, Sky Moore, 2nd round pick last year, barely got on the field. Will they do the same thing with Rice? But yeah, MVS is gonna run those wind
He's
sprints.
gonna run a lot of wind sprints.
And I'm kind of interested in Richie James late.
Love
in,
Richie
in
James
your best
late.
ball drafts.
Love
Like,
Richie James.
I think Richie James, he looked good enough on the Giants last year. The Chiefs went out and got him. He made the team. I mean, Justin Ross is another guy who the ceiling is absolutely massive, but the floor is non-existent.
It's literally nothing. It's nothing. But in terms of fantasy, you may not want to roster a single receiver from this team because it could be that widespread. But I think when you have these instances, Dario, when the receivers are, there's not like a perfectly clear hierarchy of who's one, who's two, and so on. I think that typically leads to a better performance from the quarterback because now they can just throw the open guy. They're not beholden to find that guy. They have Kelsey, obviously, but Kelsey's Kelsey. We know what's going to happen there. As long as he's healthy, he's going to rack up yards, rack up touchdowns, rack up receptions. After that, I think he just has a smattering of really talented receivers.
Yeah.
Not to mention, Jerry McKinnon's there. He caught, 5 touchdowns in the year?
Yeah. And, I mean, Andy Reid's going to scheme it up.
And Andy Reid's going to
Because it's Andy Reid. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good hot take right there.
There it is, baby.
My man.
It's hot out. I had to have a hot take.
Well, thank you to everyone for tuning into episode 2 of Fantasy Football Across America. Make sure, you guys like, subscribe, follow Player Profiler. If you don't have the all-in package already, make sure you get signed up with the promo code Dario. That'll get you $10 off.
You can use Matty.
Or Dario, either way.
Matty, M-A-T-T-Y.
And again, we'll see you guys soon. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great week 1, everyone. I mean, football is here, baby. All right. Peace out.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All-In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.